We're
going to be
live.
talking with
All right.
Loch Ness.
We're live.
Live
We're
on
live.
Facebook.
I think we're live.
Congratulations.
I'm just
Yes, we
showing,
are.
setting up your meeting here.
Now, do you see where it says live on Facebook?
We're live.
Correct. Yes. Do
I don't
you?
think- but
Yep, we're live, Paul.
are we live? Can you guys see us?
Yes.
Nobody's
I
replied.
can.
Um, sorry,
Yes,
guys.
I can.
We are definitely getting the hang of this online stuff, trying different platforms and everything. But we said we were going to be live at 2, and here we are at 2:25. This is the new quarantine time. Whenever we can
Yes.
get on. But
Yeah.
man, we're excited here. We've got quite the guy actually on the show today. We've been chatting here for about a half hour, and I've actually known Nile for years and getting to know him better. And what a great guy. I know a lot of you guys know him. He's well known. How did you say it? It's
Nile
Nile.
Motormouth Jenkins.
But what was that? How did you preface it there? The
Affectionately known.
affectionately known as
Yes.
Nile Motormouth Jenkins. And you
That's
know
right.
what? I've definitely had the opportunity to hear him speak on the radio, and I know a lot of people have. And this is definitely a gentleman who has had dreams, went through struggles, create victories, but also has helped and led a lot of people in many different ways. So we are excited to have him on here today. And this has just been such a blessing to be able to learn from different people all around Ontario and different parts of the world we're growing it out to now. But I very thankful for you coming on today and taking this time. And Tom, I'm going to pass it over to you to sort of start asking the questions and stuff like that. But I know I'm pumped. I'm excited about this. And thanks again for jumping on. So Tom, the stage is yours.
Yes, thanks, Paul. Thanks for introducing us, and thanks, Niall, for joining us today.
You're welcome.
I know we met about 4.5 years ago through a networking group in Welland, and I had the opportunity to actually feel some of your celebrity, because you're to me, you're like a famous radio personality. Your spread is wide through Canada, the United States, and I know I helped you way before these days of going online or working from home, and I helped you connect to your radio stations, and I felt part of that celebrity as I was working along with you. So welcome to our show today, and I guess we'll start with a little bit about your story. So I know I've heard some of it before, and it's a great tale. So maybe you want to tell us a little bit about how you got started in business, and what inspired you to become an entrepreneur.
Well, I guess to create the short story, I guess you could call Car Connection a 24.5-year overnight success and still going. But it came about. I worked for many years in the corporate world, and when in the corporate world, I got to understand how much I can do.
Niall.
Many
Niall.
times. Pardon? Yes.
You must have froze up there, but I know we've been meaning to speak.
Really?
It was like you held it all back, and it just fast forwarded through everything that you said there. So either
God.
you just started speaking extremely fast, or I think it hung up a little bit.
Okay.
Little bit of issues with technology. Sounds like your connection's it's breaking up a little bit. So you want to try again, a little bit about your story? And
see if I get a better. There we go. Well, in 1996, we were running our own shop, Jenkins Automotive, at the time on the Hamilton Mountain. And just to make a long story short, that's where that was my dream, was to have my own automotive repair shop. I worked many years for other people, and sorry about the camera there for a second.
No problem. We talked about that.
we're loving it.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, and I knew I was going to do it. So, anyways, but 1996 was the year when Car Connection Radio was born. But that all came about opening my own shop as a dream. That was my dream as a kid. I became licensed as a 310T and a 310S automotive service technician. That means T is for trucks and coaches and heavy equipment, and the S, 310S, is for light truck and passenger vehicles. My dream was to have my own name on my own shop instead of putting a lot of hours in for someone else, actually working for myself. So that started. Our shop opened early 1991 as we came out of a pretty serious recession. Some of my business mentors said, Jenkins, if you can survive starting your automotive shop on the tail end of a recession, you're going to make it. So, and we did. We opened the shop and proved myself for 5 years. 3 times we tried to buy, and that just was not happening. The banks were not looking at small business at the time. So I was working a lot of hours, and we're talking about 80 hours a week in the shop. And it was like I practically lived there to be able to pay the lease. And so we stuck it out 11 years total, but something changed along the line. I blew a couple of discs out in my back working 18-hour days, and I was almost a cripple. And when I was seeing a chiropractor on a regular basis, and Dr. Dave said, you got to come and see me. I got something I got to tell you. And had I known that day, it was a July, it was a gorgeous day. I walked into the chiropractor and into the examination room, and Dr. Dave closed the door. And at that point, I just felt like I had a hard time swallowing, and I just knew that something was going to change. And Dr. Dave said to me, Nile, he says, you've really done some damage to your back, and it's really bad. And I'm not going to let you get operated on, but I got to tell you something right now. If you don't stop doing what you're doing, you're going to end up in a wheelchair, and I can't help you. He said, you're going to need to reinvent yourself, but you're not going to be able to work on the shop floor anymore. You're done as a tech right now. It doesn't mean forever, but your body just cannot take any more of your 18-hour days. Well, if you can kind of almost get an understanding of what that moment was like, it was life-changing. It was earth-shattering, because automotive was all I ever knew. From age 13, that's all I ever knew. I worked with my hands. I changed my first engine with my father at age 13. That was my life, my career, my everything, my livelihood. So that's when I had to take a good hard look at, what do we do now? What's next? What's next for Nile and Jenkins Automotive? I ended up having to work the last 2 years of my lease on the Hamilton Mountain. Our landlords would not let us out of the lease, period. So I was at a point where I couldn't even lift my own legs. It took me 20 minutes to get out of a car, and I had to hire someone to come and help me bring vehicles into the shop and set them for the hoist so I could work standing up. Because if I got down on my knees, I could not get back up. It was really bad. So that's where I was at that point. We worked the last 2 years. I posted a resume in 2000, and I got snatched up by Volkswagen Canada, and I ended up being placed at a Volkswagen dealership in Cambridge to fix it, because it was broken. It was running one-legged. It was in bad shape, and I hadn't worked for somebody else for quite a while by this point. So anyways, long story short, I worked at that dealership for 4.5 years. We went from the dealership almost losing its Volkswagen license to, in 18 months, using a lot of the smarts that I got actually from working in MLMs and understanding personality traits. I did a personality profile on 27 adult children and managed to not have to clean house, which is what they wanted me to do, was to let everyone go and put them out of a job and start from ground zero. So out of 27 people using Robert Rome's personality profiles, was able to create and formulate a plan to keep those individuals. And I only needed to actually let 2 individuals go. And we went with our team, who we became like a community and a family. And with weekly, daily meetings, we were able to turn that dealership around from being number 12 at the bottom of a list of dealers to number 1 in Ontario and Canada for parts and sales and service in 18 months. We won awards like you wouldn't believe, but we were family. So I was there for 4.5 years and working 80 plus hours a week. And we were running the show at the time. We started the show in 1996 while we still had Jenkins Automotive. And we used that as a way of me giving back to society my tools of the trade, so to speak, my knowledge and understanding of automotive and trucks and equipment and all kinds of anything with a motor on it, I could tell you how to fix it. So we launched the show in 1996 with a half an hour on WDCX radio out of Buffalo. Jenkins Automotive paid for the airtime solely. We had no outside partners to run the show. Jenkins Automotive picked up the tab, and that was when the Canadian dollar was at 50 cents. So we were paying for airtime in US funds. So it was quite a chunk to take on, but our show, Car Connection, was never an advertisement. It was never an infomercial for Jenkins Automotive. The only time you heard Jenkins Automotive was if you, at the end of the program, say, if you miss Nile today on Car Connection, give him a call at the shop at Jenkins Automotive, 1154 Rymal Road East in Hamilton during the week. And what that did for Jenkins Automotive was 85% of our business came in from the show. So it really put a shot in the arm for Jenkins Automotive, even though we weren't running any advertisements during the show. So within 6 months, there was such a demand for Car Connection that we were able to move it from a half an hour show to a 60-minute show. And then 6 months after that, we grew again, and we grew into a 2-hour program on WDCX.
Wow.
And that was unsponsored. The sole sponsor was Jenkins Automotive. We were paying for 2 hours, but our business was exploding. People would bring cars as far as from Pennsylvania, Oshawa, Peterborough, all over the place. It was crazy. It was crazy to think that people were so confident in what I was teaching them and giving from my heart that they just wanted to have that peace of mind knowing someone was taking care of them, not taking advantage of them. And I really didn't miss the corporate world because the corporate world was grinding me to a pulp at working 80 plus hours a day. I left Volkswagen from 2000. I left in 4.5 years later. The dealership sold, and I decided to call it. I didn't want to go on another journey with Volkswagen. I learned a lot and very appreciative to Volkswagen and my team at corporate, but I was tired. I was working really, really hard, and I was performing really, really well. But it's one of those things where, when you take a look at the numbers and your lot boy that's cleaning and buffing cars is making more than you per hour, the performance versus the pay was not equal. When your lot boy's making $12.65 an hour, and I was working for $6.31 an hour, it just didn't make sense to stay in the corporate world. And so I left the position with Volkswagen. I went to work at a New Holland dealership for some friends that I was going to church with, and I learned a lot of things there. I grew up in a farming community, so I was familiar with a lot of the equipment, and I stayed there about 2 years, and we were still doing the show. I was in Cambridge living on a farm and renting a farmhouse, a 4,600 square foot farmhouse from some friends. And I was driving to the studio at 3 o'clock in the morning from a little place called New Dundee, Ontario. And to be at the station for 7 o'clock, so 6:59 and 30 seconds, we go live in Buffalo Saturday morning. So I had to leave the farm at 3 o'clock in the morning every Saturday, and that was through the winter and everything. It was the show must go on. So I can tell you a lot of stories about the driving from New Dundee, Ontario, all the way to Buffalo in the middle of winter. It was something special. But that's what happened was when I left Volkswagen, I was still doing the show on Saturdays. And so they allowed me to get out of the dealership on Saturdays so I could go do the show in the morning. But we began the broadcast for it to be a means of teaching people, reaching people, teaching people, and also helping them with their faith as well at the same time. So, do you have any more questions?
Yeah,
No.
yeah. I was just thinking, there's lots of questions come to my mind. You did a pivot there, really, and that's I'm hearing that more and more nowadays, is that businesses are pivoting, and you went from really having your situation put you in a place where you needed to make a change and pivot to where you left the business, went to another business, and then sort of gradually worked into the radio show. And through all that, what did you do to keep yourself positive and focused? Did we lose Nile?
I'm not sure. He seems
He seems
frozen.
awful still.
It could potentially be that it's gotten colder and he's
Well-
frozen.
Oh,
You there? Have you left the Earth's atmosphere?
No, I think I do. Before I talk about that a little bit,
Oh, you're still choppy.
I haven't left the Earth's atmosphere.
You're
Am
still
I?
okay. Okay, good.
It'll come back. It always does.
Yeah.
Technology. But in 2000, when I left New Holland, I left New Holland with a real burden on my heart to run Car Connection as a company. And with some help with some people from the BSL, the Business Success and Loan Center, helped me to take what Car Connection which it was a giant jigsaw puzzle that was thrown on the floor with all the pieces scattered. And I thank a fellow by the name of Rob Straby in Kitchener, who sat me down with a group of business consultants, and they helped me put the pieces of the puzzle together to get an idea what Car Connection would look like. And at the end of the day, these three individuals looked at me and said, "You have something in your hands that is absolutely brilliant. And here's what it looks like. Here's what we think it looks like. But you got to get out of New Dundee and you got to get down to Fort Erie so you can be closer to the network, so you can get over to the networks to broadcast. That is going to be helpful." So by this time, 2005, August 2005, landed in Fort Erie from New Dundee with all our stuff and whatnot, and moved into a house that I decided to rent a house at that time in case we needed to make a change, whether we were going to be in the US or we were going to remain in Canada. We didn't know. We just knew that I was following at the time what I felt God was calling me to do, which was to give of my time and talents to the people and through Car Connection. So to fast forward and do a little zoom into 2009, we were running really, really well. The show was performing well. We had fantastic businesses supporting us. We had started the Car Connection Business Network, which was connecting people and businesses together through the broadcast. And that continued to grow till 2009. Car Connection was like a well-oiled machine. And then all of a sudden, 2009, the US economy crashed. And at that time, we had started Car Connection on ESPN. And so we had Car Connection USA, Car Connection Canada, and now the economy crashes in the United States. This is where it gets a little ugly. And then I'll tell you how I got through this.
Yeah, so
2000
you had to persevere through that would be you started in a slow time, and then you came up to another slow time, and you had to persevere through that. So I guess, yeah, what did you do to overcome those struggles?
I think he's frozen again.
There's the delay when we talk to him.
Yeah, I think that could be.
So 2009, the US economy crashed. What's going on with Car Connection? Can you hear me okay?
No, it's still jumping as you're coming back into the atmosphere.
Yeah, there's a delay.
There you're
Okay.
back.
Can you
Want me to
hear it?
continue?
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys.
Can I add one thing really quick?
Sure.
I just want to add one thing really quick, just to go back to the beginning, because if somebody's listening, there was parts where you were choppy, and I don't want to miss this point, because you said something earlier. I didn't want to interrupt you when you were saying it, but I wrote it down because I really think that this is super important. And you said, you started, you went through a struggle, and your chiropractor said something to you that was impactful. And honestly, it was a huge pivot point in your life. And Tom brought that up. But what he said was reinvent yourself. And right now, people need to hear that, because some people are maybe struggling and they're crying about it, and they have all the right. It's a scary time for some people, but maybe you saying that today because your chiropractor said that to you, maybe people, and it was choppy, but I want to make sure people hear that, because the reason why you've had a lot of the success that you had is somebody was bold enough to say, reinvent yourself. And not only did you did a great job reinventing yourself, but then you were talking about the station and all that stuff that happened. And the reason why people were flooding to your shop was because there was trust, right? You put yourself on a stage, right? I always teach my kids, and our whole house tries to run where we live in a glass house, right? We want to make sure that we're not hiding anything. And the reason why people trusted you, the reason why you had the success, and the reason for your victory is because people trusted you, and you put yourself out there day after day after day. And that's really what this whole program is all about, that Tom and I are trying to put out there. Is this isn't about selling Tom or selling me, or he's a successful business owner. He's doing well already. His whole thought for this was, man, let's give back to the community. How can I give back to the community? And that's exactly your story. Is you had a dream, you went through some serious struggles, and then you had that person in your life that said, hey, you need to reinvent yourself here. And you sure did. And then not only did you help yourself, but you went and have helped probably around the world hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people with the show that you produced for years. So I don't know if you're still there. You still seem frozen, but.
Back out of the atmosphere.
Yeah,
Nile, I think, yeah, what Paul says is great, and we're running up on time. Is there anything you want to add on closing?
Well, I just wanted to help those who need to reinvent to understand that you're going to have some challenges. And 2009 was the biggest challenge that we ever faced with Car Connection, because the crash of the US economy took out 50% of Car Connection's business in 34 days.
Yeah.
So we lost half of Car Connection support in 34 days. And at the same time, so here I just lost 50% of our business, 50% of Car Connection support, totally gone in 34 days. And I come home from the US to a Dear John letter that my wife of 24 and a half years wrote for me to let me know that she left, she was leaving, never coming back. She met someone on Facebook. So within 34 days, I lost half of Car Connections business. I lost a wife of 24 and a half years that I had no idea that she was going to leave. There was no idea whatsoever. And it wasn't a time to feel sorry for myself. It wasn't a time to ask for sympathy. It was a time to, again, quickly realign, redesign the business model to work just for Canada only, and to hold fast to my faith. That's what got me through the storm that was in my life in 2009. I had 2 properties to prevent from going into foreclosure, keep the utilities going on 2 properties, and I had an empty unit at a rental property. And here was my formula: focus, 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 plus lots of prayer, plus faith, created a positive outcome.
That's awesome. So
It wasn't easy. I will say that. It was not easy, because self-care is important at that point. But my faith life is what led me through some very deep roads to hoe. My devotional time is important to me. I'm careful who I hang around with and who I align myself with. I unplugged my TV for good in 2009. I'm careful what I watch. I'm careful what I listen to. I stay away from newspapers and media. I only listen and read and watch positive information. I protect my brain. I protect my person. I'm into continuous learning. Family's important to me. Having some hobbies that make me smile and kind of give me a little escape from the world. Music is important to me. I'm a musician for many years. I constantly challenge myself. So to everyone listening today, don't view your challenges as obstacles.
Yeah.
Look at your challenges as a means of making you better, not bitter.
Yeah.
absolutely. So they touched on a whole host of things there. Feeding yourself with positive.
Stick with things and people that can give you some positive outcomes in life. Encourage you, not discourage you. And I always had a back up there.
There's a whole host of things that you touched on there, Niall. I don't know if you can hear us.
I if I'm Jenkins, that's
Technology.
I
I'm trying to mute him. He really is a motor mouth. You can't even mute him.
Yeah, that's why I was laughing earlier. Motor mouth Jenkins, right? When he started, it was like, I was like, I think this is just him talking, right? He's Motor Jenkins.
Yeah. So I just want to jump in now. I think there's so many things that Niall touched on here that feeding yourself positive information, not letting the media and the negative affect you, surrounding yourself with positive people, and reading and learning. All of those things are so important, and perseverance. Don't quit. Don't ever give up, because I think through all the times with his health issues when he was working as a mechanic, pivoting to get himself out of that, and not quitting, adjusting and refocusing. And what did you say the chiropractor said, Paul? And you're going to
He said, reinvent yourself, right?
Yeah,
that's huge. And it was, I mean, what we put in is what we put out, right? And I know someone can get stuck with fear and worry, and you can see Niall very many times he could have did that, but no, he pivoted. And you know what, as much as this was choppy and there was some technology glitches and all that, I know that he's out in Fort Erie, so I don't know what kind of service they have out there, but doesn't matter. If you listen to this whole message, the transferring of a feeling that we got today from him is that don't stop. Like right now, a lot of people might be like, man, but the victory is always coming. I mean, you just have to push through. You got to be careful what you put in, so that way what you put in feeds you good, so that way you could persevere and move forward. And I don't know if he's even there anymore. But he definitely will rewatch this. And I want to thank you, man, for coming on here and sharing your testimony. I know I had to listen carefully in some parts, but everything you said today is exactly what people need to hear. And I know you've already influenced lives all over the place. And this will definitely do that same thing. So
Yeah.
I think that
I'm here.
you're here. Awesome. We were just wrapping it up and thanking you for coming on. And I know it was a little choppy and everything, but you definitely delivered a great message today, and I appreciated the time.
Okay, we're gonna wrap there.
All right.
Thanks for calling in, Nile. It was awesome talking to you today. Thanks, Paul.
Bye, guys.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Bye.